We are now live. How you doing out there? Whether you are watching this on YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Facebook, or listening to it on streaming networks, or listening, you can always call into the studio now at KCBQ 1-888-344-1170. We got this absolutely fantastic guest that's going to be on the show today. And I tell you, I'm just going to hold it back right now because I don't want to give away too much of this before we start the show. So let me just introduce a little bit of the James Cooley Show, get it started, and then we're going to pick it up. Here we go. Hello. Hey, I'm James Cooley. I am the founder and CEO of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities, Lasting Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do. AM 1170 KCBQ. Hey, Todd, let's do it. Let's do it.
It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the James Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and to overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome to It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and you know what? I tell you, we got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way. We're going to talk about something that I believe that is so sensitive and so needed. Need to be talked about. Also, it need to be understood. The title of the show today, and Michelle's going to tell you a little bit more about that in a minute, is Breaking Point or Tipping Point, the best entry for therapy. I believe that many of us have challenges, and we have to understand and we have to know that we have to be matched up with the right professional to help us resolve the issues and concerns that we might have, and also to get us back on path with whatever we need. And that requires therapy and making sure that you got the right doctor, psychiatrist, or whatever that might be, sociologist or friend. We need to understand what it requires to make sure that before we get to the breaking point or get to the tipping point, and we reach out for help and make sure that we have the right people that can help us. So to hear the talk to me a little bit, talk to us a little bit about this is my beautiful wife and co-host, Michelle Cooley. How you doing today?
Doing good, James. It's a beautiful day. I'm excited about the guest today and a lot what he has to say, the education information he can provide to us on a particular topic.
Yeah, I was doing our research and with this young man, young guy, young doctor that's doing so many great things out there. I think he hit something, Michelle. I think that he found it something that most people wouldn't pursue, and most people wouldn't even think about. Is making sure that, hey, I'm in the profession. I want to make sure that the clients or people that need help is matched up with the right folks. So that's I think that's big.
Exactly, exactly. It's always great having someone, support people who are trying to find the right person to assist them with their needs. So this is going to be a very interesting show.
It's going to be a very interesting show, and I tell you, whatever you wherever you listen to this at, if you are listening to it streaming, if you're listening to it on YouTube, you listen to it on LinkedIn, um, you're listening to it on Facebook, you can also become part of this conversation by going to the comments section and asking questions or just come in and let us know that you're there and you're interested. Or you can call into the radio station at 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. Michelle, I can't take it. We got to do it. Let's tell the purpose of the show. Let's talk about the purpose and let's bring this great guest on.
Yes, the title of the show is Breaking Point or Tipping Point, Best Entry for Therapy. And the purpose of the show is getting to know licensed clinical psychologist and the founder and executive director of Thriving Center of Psychology, Dr. Alexander Alvarado, discuss mistakes people make unknowingly when seeking therapy, talk about the do's and don'ts of how to conduct an interview with a prospective psychologist, and discuss quality checks that should be made before paying for a therapy session.
Well, can you please introduce this great guest to our listeners?
Yes, Alexander Alvarado, he's a doctor of psychology, is a licensed clinical psychologist and the founder and executive director of Thriving Center of Psychology, a mental health platform that exclusively matches people to qualified psychologists and therapists who use evidence based treatments as defined by the American Psychological Association. His motivation behind launching the platform in 2019 was to help people find mental health care that they could trust to provide quality therapy backed by only the most up to date science. Since starting the Thriving Center of Psychology online platform, Alvarado and his senior psychologists have interviewed and vetted hundreds of therapists in California, Florida, Illinois, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, and Oregon who have gone on to help thousands of clients. As a result, Thriving Center is one of the top Google reviewed mental health practices in the country. Alvarado earned his Doctor of Psychology degree in clinical psychology in 2016 and completed a private practice residency in New York City. He believes that a person's first therapy experience is critical to fighting public stigmas in mental health and that matching qualified professionals with individuals and their specific needs is a key step towards improving overall quality of life. The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, proudly presents Dr. Alexander Alvarado.
How you doing, Dr. Alexander? Can I call you Dr. Alex?
Yeah, sure. Call me whatever you like. Yeah, thank you
Hey,
so much for
Doctor.
having me here.
Dr. A. Dr. Alex, thank you so much for coming on the James Cooley Show with your life. I believe that the topic that we're talking about today is so needed. So, uh, Dr. Alex, can you please tell our listeners where you grew up? What was the most important lesson that was taught to you by your parents or whoever was your role model?
Oh, wow. Okay, sure. Yeah, so first one's easy. Grew up in South Jersey, right outside Atlantic City there. And I would say, let's see, the most important lesson that my parents, or definitely my role models, taught me was probably integrity. Always doing the right thing, even though sometimes you might not feel like doing the right thing. So I would say that has definitely been the guiding value that has probably helped me all of my career.
Wow. So why did you become a clinical psychologist, and what brought you into the career field?
Sure. Yeah. So my mother was actually a therapist. She was a clinical social worker in our small town. So I would always see the effects, when we're out to eat or in the grocery store, people would always come up because they were her clients and just thank her and us as well. So that was really inspiring. But, and from there, I kind of knew psychology was probably going to be anything that I do, whether it be marketing, people relationships, business, therapy. So I knew it was a good kind of starting point, and it led me in this trajectory.
Wow. So you mentioned psychologists. Can you tell me the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
Yeah, sure. And it's a great question, and many people don't know this. And so they're not completely different professions, but a psychologist goes to school, specifically to see, for psychology. Psychiatrists go to medical school. So your psychiatrist and your surgeon went to the same school. The only difference is the psychiatrist had a residency that was psychology focused. Psychiatrists can prescribe medication, where psychologists do not. So that is the biggest difference.
So with the difference, you saying psychiatrists can prescribe medicine, psychology can't. So what's the benefits? And I know there are many benefits. Why a person should come in, depending on whatever issues that they're having, why they should choose to be a psychologist opposed to a psychiatrist.
Yeah, and so it is confusing sometimes, but psychiatry, you'd mainly go for medication. There are a lot of psychiatrists, however, that do conduct therapy, but there's also a large percentage that only do medication, right? So you go to your therapist once a week, and then if you need extra help with medication, they might say recommend you see a psychiatrist, who you'd go see maybe once a month just for management of your medication. So you'd always want to start with a therapist or a psychologist just to talk to somebody. And if you really need that extra help, then you go to a psychiatrist.
Wow. So real quickly, we got to take the break. But I want to talk about some of the benefits of other than just that portion, why a person should consider seeking a psychologist, and also be open-minded to whatever that they have to say. And so I tell you, we're going to take a station break. We're going to come back. We're going to pick up this great conversation, and we're going to go off into the mental health portion of this. It's your life. I'm James Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life.
Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Yeah! The James Cooley Show. It's your life. Come on.
My program is built on the 4 C's. And the 4 C's are create. Create is the thoughts that we have. Each and every last one of us have these thoughts, these ideas, these dreams. We have these things every day. A lot of times when we get these thoughts, we don't want to do anything but lay down and go back to sleep or whatever that might be, and we wake up and the thoughts are gone. I believe that a high spirit always telling us something every single day. So create the ideals that you get, that you think about, that you dream of. You say, I can do it.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Life to country life and back again, sharing his hard-earned lessons to educate, encourage, and enlighten our next generation of leaders and heroes. Get your copy of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
The Answer San Diego, streaming now on iHeart.com and Odyssey.com.
It's time to dream big, think big, and be big. It's time for more It's Your Life. Now, here's your host, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I am talking to Dr. Al. And I tell you, what we're talking about today, I believe is so important. I think everybody needs to tune in, take heed, because we have people, or maybe even ourselves, people in our family, friends, etc., that needs or require help in some way or form or another. And we have to make sure that we get the right resources for them. And that's what we're talking about today, is making sure that we have the right resources right resources and the right support. I'm talking about the right doctor or right therapist or whatever that might be required. So that's why I think this is so important. So if you want to be part of the conversation, just like I said, you can always go to the Facebook comment, LinkedIn, YouTube, or you can call into the radio station at 1-888-344-1170. Dr. Alex, okay, so their mental health, I want to talk about that one. That's a very popular topic. And as you see what's going on in the world, you see especially in the United States, and we're in Texas right now, so you know about what just happened here. And so there are a lot of resources out there where people can get help. And I don't know. I mean, I believe that the resources that are out there, a lot of them being there is a good thing, but it also can be a bad thing if you're seeking the wrong person to help you out and they're not qualified. And I'm just going to put it out there. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. And I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, if I had to choose one, right, I'd rather have there be a plethora of resources than none, but that does come with its own challenges, right? And that's really choosing quality resources, right? There's so many. How do I know which one to go to? And that's a big issue. And I think it's a big barrier for people. You know, once they finally get to that tipping point saying, I need to go to therapy. Okay, now the next step is finding a therapist. My goodness, that sounds so overwhelming. I'm a clinical psychologist. It's overwhelming for me. So not having any understanding of the field is really overwhelming.
Wow. So if a family member, a friend, or et cetera, is in need of help, when is the best time to start, or when should one see a psychologist?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I usually like to say the best time's probably yesterday. The second best time's today. But a good rule of thumb, and this is true. A good rule of thumb that I love is that if you've thought about seeking a therapist, chances are it's time to seek a therapist. There's a reason, that this has popped into your head, and it'd be good to explore that.
I want to talk a little bit about Striving Center Psychologists. And it's so many things I want to talk about, but that's your baby. I want to know why you created, why do you feel that was necessary for you to start this, and just tell us why you created it.
So, and it's right on topic of what we're talking about, definitely. And, I started off as a solo practitioner, and I branched out in New York City, and then from there, a few other states. And one of the problems I really wanted to solve is that, that barrier right there of, I wanted to be a go-to place for people that people can trust, that this is quality therapy, that this is evidence-based treatments. All of these treatments are backed by research, and that I'm going to find someone who matches me. I've heard a lot of, sometimes I talk to friends or even people I just meet, and I hear from, them saying, oh, well, therapy, I tried it once, it didn't work for me. And it's disheartening because a lot of times it might have been just not the best fit. I'm not sure who they spoke to. And if, someone didn't get the right person in front of them, it could, possibly ruin their idea of therapy forever. So for me, I think that was a really big motivational factor in growing this and really just creating our, network of very qualified, evidence-based therapists.
Okay, tell me, in your network, because you got a lot of senior psychologists, how did you go about choosing them to be a part of your birth or of your dream and establishing this worldwide network?
Sure. So, they go through a vetting process with one of our senior psychologists, which is essentially a pretty in-depth interview. And this is the interview that, basically I would want to give a therapist that I was going to ask my, family member to see, right? I want to make sure that they know how to utilize certain or treat certain things if they were trained correctly, right? And so and honestly, if I wasn't in this industry, right, if I'm going to seek a therapist, I can't just ask these questions because I probably wouldn't know to answer, right? How do you usually treat someone coming in with anxiety, right? If I'm not a psychologist, I might not know that. Luckily, we are. So, we make sure that every single therapist that we hire is adequately trained, understands how to treat most things that people come in for, and utilize only the most up-to-date research. And honestly, even more so, that they have some intangibles, right? Are they personable? Do they have that bedside manner they're approachable and people would feel comfortable speaking with them? So that's a huge piece as well.
Well, okay. So I'm going to ask you this because during your process when you vetting these therapists, have you came across some therapist, psychologists that you said, I don't even know how they even made it in this industry. I don't even know why they got the license.
Oh man, yes, it's unfortunate. Definitely, we have definitely come across quite a few. Some people who might not have been adequately trained, might have gone to maybe a school that didn't train them correctly, or some people that might have understand the stuff pretty well, but they're in it for the wrong reasons, right? Maybe they were in it to kind of fix themselves in some way, and maybe it didn't exactly work too well, to say the least. But there's a lot of different reasons, I've definitely had a few different interviews with psychologists where they didn't fit the environment that we were trying to create. That's for sure.
So Dr. Alex, so how do you, and this is just something, how do you go about, do you interview some of the patients? Or how do you go about matching up the patients with the right therapy? Tell us about on how you go about doing that.
Great question. So we've developed a very short questionnaire to help us basically place every client that comes through our doors with the most appropriate fit. And these questions revolve around the ones you would assume, such as, the reasons you're coming in, with, also some more specific ones in terms of who you would feel comfortable with. It could be maybe you would like to speak with someone of the LGBTQ community, or a diversity therapist, or even possibly even more so in depth. Would you like someone who's more goal oriented, or someone who you have something you're coming in for and you're trying to get to that goal, or even something more reflective, right? I have a bunch of stuff on my mind. I just want to process it, and I'd love a good person to listen and give me feedback, right? So all of these things have helped us place all the clients with the most appropriate fit. But it's really not where we stop either, though. We make sure that every client Also has the ability to talk to the therapist, because again, that fit is so important, and really being able to speak with the therapist and really see how comfortable you are, it really gives you that confidence that this is a good match.
So the patient or someone, nurse or whoever that's seeking help for this particular patient, how do they go about contacting you? I think you guys are online, or so how do first of all, how do they know of you all, and how do they know that we need to reach out to your organization? And third, do you guys interview every patient that contact you? I'm talking about you and your team, to make sure that you place them, regardless of where they're at in the United States, depending on where your organizations are with the right folks.
Sure. Yeah. So the site that you can find our short matching questionnaire is thrivingcenterofpsych.com. That's thrivingcenterofpsych.com. And it's not just an automated process. We don't believe that a robot should spit out your match. So we do have our dedicated coordinators who are by hand matching people, and we'll call every single client and basically walk them through the process and make sure we have a best understanding of what they're looking for, and why we're matching them with who we're matching them with.
So we got about 90 seconds before the break, but how important is a person's first therapy experience to the overall impression of the therapist?
Of the therapist or therapy itself?
Therapy.
Yeah, so I think it's incredibly important, and one of the most important things, because if people come to the first therapy session and it's not a good match, then they generalize all therapy like this, right? Like that terrible experience, and they might never approach it, right? If they have a reason, and they might be a great candidate for therapy, right? So I think it just really hurts the stigma of going to therapy when people have a poor fit or not the appropriate therapist that they're going to. So I think that one of the major ways to fix that is to make sure that we get this right as soon as possible and as early as possible.
Wow. I tell you, we're going to take a station break, but I can't wait to get back to pick up this topic. And if you want to be part of this conversation, you can pick up the phone, dial 1-888-344-1170, or you can go to the comments column on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and ask this great doctor a question. It's your life. I'm James Cooley, Dr. James Cooley, and we'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more stories of great.
Hey, I'm James Cooley, the host of E360, It's Your Life, the James Cooley Show, which I tell you, I want you to watch, because we're going to encourage people to dream big, think big, and be big at everything they do.
Our community. You can give online at CooleyFoundation.org. The J.C. Cooley Foundation thanks you in advance for your contribution.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
The Answer San Diego, streaming now on TuneIn.com and Odyssey.com.
It's time to dream big, think big, and be big. It's time for more It's Your Life. Now, here's your host, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley, and I tell you, I'm enjoying this conversation with Dr. Alex. You know, and he's explaining to us how it's important that patients be matched up with the right therapist. And it's important in a lot of ways, at least I believe, is because a person has to feel comfortable with who is counseling them, and they have to trust and believe in them. And so I believe that it's so important that his organization, what he has, I mean, ensuring that we match up the patient with the right therapy and that they get the right therapy based on what their needs are. So I say, if you got some questions, please contact us right now. You can call in, or you can go to Facebook, Zoom, or Live, or all this other type of thing. And we can do this. Dr. A. So when we left, we had to take a break, of course. We were talking about why it's important that the first visit that a patient had with therapy, I mean, that they understand and that the comfortability is there and they're relaxed and they all in. So what is usually involved during the first therapy appointment to make sure that we match them up right?
So before actually the first therapy appointment, we have a 15-minute free consultation, which is really where you want to get to know if you have the right fitting therapist that you're speaking with. And so in that 15-minute consultation, you just kind of want to find out a few things, right? Can this person help me, which is a big one, right? Do they treat whatever it is I'm coming in with, whether it be anxiety, fear of flying, make sure that they've treated people similar to me before in the past. Another thing you want to find out is, do they utilize evidence-based therapy? That's therapies that are backed by science. Some of the big ones are cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, or ACT. But you can do a quick Google search and find out exactly what kind of therapy style they use. Another big thing, like I mentioned, is how comfortable you are speaking with this person. Do you take note of, did this person sound like they were listening to me? Did I feel heard during that 15-minute consultation? Right. And honestly, you can even though you might not know the answer, it's important to ask how therapy might look like with them. Right. Let's say I'm coming in for fear of public speaking. Well, how do you usually treat people? What's that therapy going to look like, right? They should have a good elevator pitch of how they're going to approach your therapy. It might not be exact, but they should be able to tell you where, the first few sessions we deal with this, and then we do, go to exposure therapy. So you should have a good idea of at least a good expectation of what to expect. So with all of those things considered, I think after that, you should make a pretty good educated, or you should have enough at least to make an educated decision on if that therapist is a good fit for you.
Wow. So what is your organization doing to improve the process to make sure that all of these things that you just described is happening?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why we fully believe in free consultations, so we make sure that, we usually match people with 2, sometimes 3 at the very most. And, we make sure that our, potential clients are speaking with all their matches. And then they can make an informed decision in who they feel most comfortable with.
I tell you, guys, hey, you know how we are. We have these certain type of stigmas that they place on men. seeking therapy. Plus, we sometimes we think that we know it all. Uh, what would you tell our listeners some of the stigmas that are around men seeking therapy?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. It's very unfortunate. I mean, there's a stigma in mental health as it is, but especially with men, right? We're told, tough it out. Almost don't show emotion. Showing emotion is weakness, and honestly, that just the opposite is true. Um, and I think the more people that are talking about mental health is really helping. Especially the more prominent men in this world that we're seeing. Athletes, actors, people of the royal family. And basically showing how it's okay, right, to not be okay. One thing I would definitely tell a lot of the men, especially the sports fan, is pick whoever your favorite athlete is. I guarantee you he has a psychologist, right? In fact, every sports team right now is traveling with a sports psychologist to help them get a step up over mental barriers, because it's not always about even going to a mental health therapist, about having almost this deficit. I need to get to a baseline. There's a lot of people who come into therapy who are already at that baseline and they want to go above, and so, because there's always ways to improve. There's always ways to improve. And it's almost gotten to the point where if you're not going to therapy, you almost don't have that advantage that other people may have.
You just mentioned a thing where most people coming for. They they look at these actors, they look at these sports heroes who they consider, and they see what they see on TV or what they assume, and they think that these people do not have any problems. That everything, because they got money, because they got fame, because they got all that other type of things. That their life is perfect. I want my life to be like that. you know, and they don't know that these people, just like you just mentioned, have the same type of issues that they have, that we have, that we all have. So how can we overcome this stigma, especially? I think this is Men's Health Month. How can we overcome these type of stigmas? And what would you suggest to men, just like what you just said, that feel that they know all the answers, they don't need any help?
One of the things we actually usually find is more the people who do not think that they need therapy the most are usually most often the people who need therapy the most. It's usually how it works. It's a great rule of thumb. But like I mentioned before, I think just talking about it more and basically bringing it more into the limelight, like we've been doing lately. And if you are a man, being able to talk about it, because I think when men seem to talk about certain issues, they realize that if they're listening, like, oh wait, wow, other people go through that too. So I think it's an amazing thing, and when we kind of keep it to ourselves, it's almost like they feel like they're the only ones going through it. So I would say always make sure there's no downside to seeing a therapist, right? Look, if it's not for you, sure, but at least I would say give it a try, because having that outside perspective can be really invaluable.
Wow. Hey, Dr. Alex. So we got Dr. Gore on the phone. She has a question for you. Can you see it?
Yes.
So her question is, if you listening, is great question, Dr. Cooley. As a man of 16, as a mom of 16 years old who just began therapy, I have some opinions. I have gotten some opinions about choosing the right person to speak to. How would you address that, Dr. Alex?
Sure. So I see here that they how would they give a parent seeking therapist for an adolescent advice? So honestly, similar
Oh,
process. Is that the one we're talking
I
about?
put the wrong question. I put the wrong question up there.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was my fault. That wasn't yours. I mean, okay, so
Sorry, would you mind repeating the previous one?
This is okay. The previous question, I'm gonna put it up there again, and
Okay.
Dr. Gore, we'll get to it. I'm gonna put it up there. It's a great question, Dr. Cooley. As a mom of a 16-year-old son who just began therapy, I have gotten some opinions about choosing to have him speak to one, and that leads to our second question. Is this also leads to my question: what advice would Dr. A give to a parent seeking a therapist for an adolescent?
Great question. And so I think the matching process is just as important for the adolescent as well as just as for an adult. So the same process of if Miss Gore was able to find a few therapists, it is definitely important that her son or daughter speaks with a therapist and sees how comfortable he is with that person, right? Because ultimately it's his therapy, right? And so if this child comes into therapy and they're not comfortable divulging information, well, it might not go too far, right? So I think it's really important for that adolescent to get a feel for the therapist and maybe even bring him and involve him in the choosing of a therapist to make it feel more like his therapy session, which ultimately it is.
Hey, Doc, why don't you hold up? We got to take a station break, but I want to come back and I want to pick up on her questions. I mean, you answered her questions. So we're going to come back and after the break and we're going to pick this up. It's your life. If you want to be part of this conversation, like I said, 1-888-344-1170, or go to Facebook, Zoom, YouTube, not Zoom, but YouTube and other mechanisms that send your question. It's your life. I'm James Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley. The J.C. Cooley Foundation is a nonprofit organization that was started in October of 2014. The J.C. Cooley Foundation continues to strive to expand its programs and offerings to the youth, young adults, and citizens of our great communities nationwide.
The third one, commitment. We all are committed to the In and Out project, otherwise we wouldn't be here today. I came all the way in from California just to make sure that I'm here. I'm committed. So commitment is when you say you're gonna do something, when you go to join this team or you're gonna volunteer, you're gonna do this. If you say you're going to do it, you gotta commit to it. And we gotta get our youth, we gotta get our society, we gotta get our community, we gotta get our leaders, we gotta get everybody to commit to making our communities better and giving others opportunities.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello.
Answer San Diego app and Odyssey.com.
It's time to dream big, think big, and be big. It's time for more It's Your Life. Now, here's your host, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I tell you, Dr. Alex is really informing us, educating us on things that I believe that are so important, and that when you're seeking therapy, regardless of whether you are an adult or adolescent or etc., you have to make sure that, first of all, that you get the right type of therapy for the right type of problems, and you have to have the person matched up with the right person that's going to ensure that whoever their patient is, trust them, understand them, and they're working together to solve whatever problems that might be there. So, Dr. Alex, we had Dr. Gore that was asking a question. We had to take the station break, and we was in the middle of it. Can we pick up that question still on the screen, and can you pick it up there and continue to answer a question?
Of course. Yeah. So, and especially with adolescents, similar process that I mentioned before, making sure that that therapist has experience with adolescents, number one. It's a little different a ball game dealing with adolescents and adults. So that's definitely a big question I would ask. Even one step further, are they familiar with some of the maybe issues that this adolescent is coming in with, right? And so, have they treated this person similar to them before? And again, what does therapy usually look like with an adolescent such as this? Again, they should be able to give you a nice elevator pitch of this is what it usually starts, and typically we see it takes around this time. Of course, it's very flexible, and they can't give you an exact, but they should be able to give you an idea. And then, like I was mentioning before our break, making sure you, as the parent, speak to the therapist as well as the adolescent. I think is very important.
So you mentioned 4 things in the information that we got from you that a person should know before they start paying for a therapist. Can you discuss with our viewers and our listeners what they are?
Definitely, yeah. I think we hit most of them, especially Dr. Gore there. With her great question. Again, therapist specialties. What are the therapist specialties? What the treatment will look like. What will treatment look like with this therapist? Do they utilize evidence-based treatments? Actually, I missed that one in your question, Dr. Gore. So what type of treatments do they utilize, right? And again, big ones that we see nowadays, this isn't all, there's a lot. CBT, DBT, ACT are a few of the big ones, but whatever they tell you, feel free to do a quick Google search, and then the last and most important one, honestly, is how comfortable are you speaking with this therapist? So those would be the 4 main ones I would always rely on.
Dr. Allen, what are some of the do's and the don'ts to keep in mind during a consultation session that will help you find the right therapist match?
So a big do not treat it like a therapy session. It's not a therapy session. So, basically it's, if you have something you're coming in with, just as you want the elevator pitch from the therapist, give them the elevator pitch of what you're coming in for. Like, I'm coming in because, I'm terrified of flying on a plane and I need to fly for my daughter's wedding. I just broke up with my girlfriend, something similar to that, right? So they can get an idea of what you're coming in for, but don't worry about getting into the nitty-gritty details because it's only, about 15 minutes. Another one is, again, I would go back to the things that we mentioned before, right? Asking, do ask what treatment will look like. Make sure that you do get an idea of what you can expect. Some other good questions is ask the price, making sure that you can actually, invest in what this therapist, with a therapist's fee. And if they take your insurance, there's a lot of therapists that are in network versus out of network and what that means.
Well, got a question just popped up. It says, do you need to see a therapist who lives in the same area or same state that you're in?
Yeah, good question. And, in this digital world, we can connect with people all over. However, if you're seeing a therapist, they do need to be licensed within the state that you're located. Therapy is basically, they say therapy is conducted wherever the client is. So if, you are in Minnesota, your client and your therapist is in California, as long as they have a Minnesota license, you're good. So long story short, as long as the therapist has a license where you're located.
Another question that just popped up is, what is online therapy and is it effective compared to in-person therapy?
So online therapy is something that's been around for a bit, but exploded during COVID-19 when we were pretty locked down, and going to any type of doctor face to face was not ideal. And that's just similar to what we're doing here, right? Having a conversation over the computer. And there's some pros and cons, right? And the convenience is a big pro. Some of the cons, some people feel is it's harder for them to build a good rapport. But evidence states that it is just as effective as in person. So whether you're going in person to see a therapist or you're seeing them via telehealth, it is just as effective. It's really just about preference, right? What do you prefer? Some people prefer that 3D feel, and some people prefer the convenience of just rolling out of bed and open up their laptop and talking to their doctor.
Wow, just got another question. Dr. Alex, there are many people who have been seeing a therapist for years and even decades. Do you believe there are instances in which the person no longer needs therapy, but they are so afraid and not comfortable, and they just want to keep that relationship going, even though they might not need to
Oh
see that
man.
therapy?
So, that's hard, and unfortunate, because therapy should really be a collaborative process. And if you feel that you're not getting what you need from therapy, it should be a conversation, right? That'd be the first thing I bring up to a therapist to help them work through. And that could actually evolve into a really therapeutic conversation and actually get you over that stagnant hump. But do I believe that someone should be in therapy for the rest of your lives? Most people that come in for a certain situation, I believe that they should be hopefully through that main particular situation within a few months. Most people who want to continue after that, it's more preference again. Maybe small tune-ups. Maybe they just appreciate that outside perspective. But what we see in our practices as well is that most people that come to us usually do overcome whatever they're coming in for around 12 sessions. So I don't think anyone would prefer to be in therapy forever. I definitely lean on more of the short-term therapy side.
Wow, got another question. Says Dr. Al, where can someone take your therapy matchmaking quiz to see if you can match them up with the right therapist?
Sure. Yeah. So our website is thrivingcenterofpsych.com. That's thriving center of psych, PSYCH.com. And so you'll be able to see our matchmaker right in the forefront of our website right there.
Yeah. So got another one said, have you authored a book, or you plan on authoring any books? If so, can you tell us about it?
Oh man, no plans. I am busy enough, but maybe I need to take a hiatus sometime in the future. And it's definitely, I think every psychologist, one of their main goals is to eventually one day write a book. So would be nice, but nothing in the works yet.
So what's in the plans for your organization? I know you guys are already in numerous states. And also, how can people contact? I know you just gave them the website, but is there any other information you want to put out there where how they can get in touch with you? Because obviously we got a lot of people that are very interested in this topic.
So I think the easiest way is to get in touch with us is through the site. We do have particular numbers for each particular state. So it all depends on just where you're located. But if you do a quick Google search, you can likely pick that up. What are the plans? The plans are just honestly continuing spreading our message and really building our network of quality therapists to help as many people as possible.
No, Dr. Alex, I want to thank you so much for taking time to come on the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been intriguing. It's been a learned experience for me. And I believe that we helped others in so many ways. So I plan on reaching back out to you again, your peeps, to get you back on, if that's okay with you. Yeah, thanks. And I always got to thank my listeners and my viewers for taking the time to Tune into the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. And we're also on television, E360 TV, which consists of 8 different channels. And so we're always looking for sponsors so we can continue to bring this great message to you. I tell you, I want everybody to stay focused, dream big, think big, and be big, and always, just stay positive. If you need help, if you need therapy, even if you even think that way, go out and seek it. We'll be back. Same time. It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley.
Thank you, Dr. Cooley.
Hey, thank you so much.
And inspiration to help you become equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. This has been the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, where you learn how to dream big, think big, and be big at everything that you do.
It's your
Hey, Dr. Alex, thank you so much for taking the time to come on this show. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm pumped. We needed this. And this is the first interview that I had out of 400 episodes on this topic. So, hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time, and I'm happy to come back anytime. So this was great. Thank you.
We're definitely going to reach out to your PR people. They're fantastic. And I hope they're listening. They can still, I haven't ended the broadcast yet. So
I'm sure they listen to them all, so I'm sure they'll listen. Yeah. I get feedback after everyone, so don't worry. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So, hey, thank you so much. We're going to reach out to them again. Let's do this again real soon. Maybe on TV next time if your people, that's what they choose to do.
Sure. We'd love that.
Yes. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you as well.
All right. Thanks.